So I'll just kind of go through them and we'll pull out any kind of the interesting ones. I guess this is first a little Bougainvillea that's styled similar to Nigel's, except I have a really low first branch, which I'm going to keep. Yeah. And the root base is covered in this moss.
It's looking good.
Yeah, well, there's the first big cut. And I'm just really letting it grow. So I was having some problems with its roots.
And is this a pink pixie kind?
Yeah, the pink pixie.
Because they're thornless, right?
Yeah.
Smaller
and it's
leaves.
more of a like rocket shoots, where the other one I can show you guys when we get there. It grows kind of out. And,
it's more vine-like.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is almost vine-like.
Yeah, these aren't really. I mean, maybe if you let it grow really long, it would become more of a vine. But
I find it more. It grows like this, like these pieces, like straight. Yeah. Like almost like a candle, like a pine tree.
Yeah. They're more shrubby than the other Bougainvilleas, aren't they?
Yeah, it was struggling a little bit, so I'm just letting it grow all summer. So I'm not going to prune it, and it's still, you can see it's not super established in its pot yet.
Now let's just look at this humidity here.
Oh yeah.
When I came here, when I came here, it was like 50.
Yeah.
And now we're at 83% humidity, 27 degrees Celsius. So I don't know. It has gotten cloudy out, so that might mean rain is coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this thing, I've seen this get up to, it's kind of, well, the sun hits it. So the thermostat gets really hot. I've seen it 30, 35. This sometimes even reads 40.
Really? Wow.
But like, we haven't had a hot summer yet. No. But it just, I guess when the sun gets over, it hits it right away. Yeah. It's just a good indication kind of for the backyard.
Yeah, it is.
I have some smaller other pines kind of surrounding. So this is a big Scots pine.
Wow.
So this is the first tree I've ever collected.
Oh yeah.
And it's been kind of sitting in this storage tote for about 3 years. I'm probably going to repot it next year. Yeah. I got this from the side of a railway. Okay. So I found a lot of good trees on the side of railways because like they get buffered by the snow, they got the wind, and then people come back and cut back from the rails. Yeah.
So is it in the original soil still, or?
Some of it, yeah. So again, probably the closer core still has some original soil, but it's in all of my, I guess this is my version 1 of bonsai soil.
I see, yeah.
So this, I can get a close-up on it. There's some like haydite pieces, some expanded glass. This is, I forget what it's called. It'll come to me. Some turfus. A little bit of everything.
So it's gritty though, isn't it?
Yeah, very gritty.
That's good for it.
And this is my new mix. So this is a small limber pine, I think.
Okay. So many pines.
Yeah, I know. There's a variety of pines. So this is kind of my newer mix. So you can see that there's these pieces of pink and black. Those are granite bits. So I really started liking using the granite.
That changes the acidity of the soil.
Yeah,
the granite.
And there's also there's the pink and the black granite have a high mineral content of beneficial minerals, but they need the mycorrhiza in the active soil. So I have bits of organic material as well.
I see.
And then just some pumice and some lava. But the granite is good. It's a heavier product too. It keeps the pots on the ground. It's
good to have that weight in the soil sometimes. And I've heard a lot of pines prefer having some weight on top of the soil for the roots to grow.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know why that is, but...
Wow, yeah, that's good. Well, because maybe then they get in that small kind of crevice on those shales of rocks and stuff. They develop like that. Yeah. Pines always will make their own soil from their decomposed needles.
From their litter and all that. Yeah. Pine litter and duff, they call it, right? Yeah. Pine duff.
Yeah, well...
I think it's called pine duff.
Yeah, this granite is like a lot of it comes from like the northern Ontario shores and stuff. So pine, like trees like that grow up there, like a lot of local people go up to that kind of area to collect. Yeah. So they're growing in that naturally. So it's a really good and local product. So you don't really have to pay a lot of shipping fees and stuff for it.
And so is that sold for chickens, like chicken grit or something? Or
no, it's different than that. But it probably could be. But so from Ray has always told me to look for the black and the pink stuff because that has the specific minerals like magnesium and potassium, but you need the mycorrhiza to unlock it, basically.
And which is it sold for aquariums or what's the commercial use for it?
I think it's just like a bulk aggregate. Okay. So for like bedding, but sometimes it's like you see a lot of limestone bedding and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. Crushed granite. It comes in bigger pieces for abetments and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
But then when you can crush it down to a small enough stuff for bonsai soil.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that's
yeah,
cool.
a couple other.
So that's the new soil mix, and so far it's working well, eh?
Yeah, I found I've mostly just moved to like a particle size method. So I'm less kind of concerned with like I have 1 part lava, 1 part pumice. It's all I just have the consistent particle size.
Yeah.
And then I break it down into basically inorganic and organic. So
yeah.
I have all of these, and inorganic being the granite, the pumice, the lava rock, all of that one size, and then the pine bark the other size. And I'll do a mix like that with basically 20 to 25% pine bark, and then the rest inorganic.
Yes.
And I kind of just like, over the last several years, buy this part of this component, this part of this. I haven't really found a mix like your perlite turfus. So now I just kind of do it by particle size.
Yes.
And it seemed to be working pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing is particle size to get the air spaces, isn't it? And then
everything's kind of consistent across your bench.
Yeah.
So it's easier for watering.
Yeah.
Here's another little Adenium.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
beautiful little pot.
Yeah, kind of busting out of the little pot.
They'll break pots, I've heard.
But it's just starting to grow in new growth.
And have you pruned that already this summer?
No, I don't think. I think this one was a little struggling before, so it lost its leaves.
Okay.
They'll normally do that. They really don't like our winters. Like there's a struggle to kind of grow them. So don't fret if like your Adenium's not growing well indoors. I found as soon as you put them outside, they kind of perked up. Like so, this one perked up, fattened up, and it's just a little slower to kind of bud out.
Just coming out now, eh?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll do well this summer, little tree.
Yeah, I think so. Next to it, we have a beast of I think it's a Boston ivy or some kind of ivy.
Some kind of ivy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a nice little leaf set.
Very small leaves.
And we were just kind of digging in it because I was showing Nigel, but it's got a sumo trunk.
Trunk in there. Wow. And the bark texture.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So it's very, very overgrown.
Yeah.
But it's kind of going to be a unique one because it's obviously a vine, so it grows down.
Yeah.
But I'm do maybe kind of like a phoenix grab. So like I'll have branches like this, and then grow a fake or faux branch on it.
Right.
So that's kind of a good example. Yeah, exactly. So when I'm going to prune this, I basically just prune it and leave that little puff ball there.
And maybe someday those will thicken up enough that you can actually remove the old branch.
Yeah,
Who knows?
So. And I think it's going to be like it's going to make really wavy branches because it's basically going to grow like this, and then it's going to weigh it down, and then I'm going to cut it, and it'll bounce back up, and then that kind of clip and grow will really develop a nice wavy branch in it.
Yeah. And you can grow the branches any length. You can just keep them going right to the back of the yard.
Yeah, yeah. So this one only gets pruned by the lawnmower, basically.
Okay. It probably fears the lawnmower, eh? No, don't come near me. And then you've got this Korean fir?
Yeah.
Korean
so this is a Korean fir.
Wow. Is that ever cool, eh?
Yeah, it kind of has like a very symmetrical, almost like the Fibonacci-like foliage.
That's so cool.
And it's really cool when the new buds come in spring. They bust open and then they kind of spread like the Fibonacci sequence.
I see. And bright green compared to the old foliage, isn't it?
Yeah. So these are kind of like an older second flush, these little ones.
Cool trunk and bark.
Yeah, lots of weeds in it. Don't get to those.
And it's turning a little blue up top, isn't it?
Yeah, so it really has, like the underside of the foliage is really blue.
Look at that. It is very blue underneath. Wow.
So that's like if you look, you may get a shot. Yeah, you can see it.
It's hard to see, but yeah. Yeah, definitely blue underneath.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's setting its new buds. So I'm probably just leaving it. I did a pretty traumatic root work.
Yeah.
The first step, getting it into. This is just a dollar store basket, but these baskets are really nice because
they're good. Eh?
It's like a perfect size for a big bonsai pot. Yeah, basically nice rectangle,
isn't it?
Yeah. So there you can see that's got the shot of the root base there.
Oh yeah. And do they last in the sunlight, these pots?
Yeah. So far so good. This is probably two years.
Okay.
But for a couple bucks from the dollar store,
can't go wrong.
If it only lasts a couple years, it's okay.
Yeah.
So this is the transition shift them into these before they go into bonsai pots.
Yeah, that's the final step, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And this looks like a Don Redwood.
Yeah, close. This is a bald cypress.
Bald cypress. Right.
Yeah, so those are always hard to distinguish. One of them has alternating leaves.
Yeah.
So the bald cypress. So this has alternating, so and the Don Redwood is parallel.
Opposite there.
Yeah, and the bald cypress is a little finer foliage. The Don Redwoods are a little coarser and a little bigger.
Yeah.
But you pay for that because the bald cypress isn't as winter hardy.
I see. Yeah.
So it has kind of like the nicer characteristics for bonsai, but it's kind of like the trident maples and the Japanese maples. They take a little more work. So this is one that would go in the outside fridge. So I don't really let this freeze.
No, you don't.
But I'm growing this like the traditional swamp cypress, so it's gonna have like the really wide buttressy roots.
Yeah.
You can see this one kind of wraps right around.
Right.
But you can root prune these pretty severely. Like a lot of people just dig out root cuttings. Yeah. Especially out west. So I'm going to take off that big one, and then the first big cut's kind of right here, and it's just growing new leaders. Right.
So that's your first big chop there. Eh?
Yeah.
And they transition really quickly, don't they?
Yeah. So this was in like this is 2 years growth.
Yeah.
This was I get a lot of my trees from nursery stock. I have a few collected ones, but a lot of them are for nursery stock. So I'll buy an 8-foot tree that's meant for the garden. There's a big Japanese maple right back there.
Yeah.
And then so I'll rip them out of the pots, cut them down to basically stumps, and I'm sure the people at the nurseries would think I'm crazy.
Shake your head, eh?
Yeah.
Shake your head. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Beside it are some black pines. Black spruce.
Black spruce. Yeah. Very blue, just like mine.
Yeah. So it hasn't been pruned yet. I'm gonna do a fall pruning, I guess, on it.
Yeah.
And how many? I think there's eight or so in here, and then I'm gonna put a couple small larches in front.
And they're all different sizes, so it's a good variety, isn't it?
Yeah. So these kind of three main ones, I bought together, and they're all kind of the same size. But I found that one just naturally gets bigger when you do a group planting like this.
Yeah.
And then
because they genetically grow at different rates. Don't they?
Yeah. And then there's three kind of little ones. I get them from like an online thing that will ship you kind of nursery or like 1 year kind of stock. We've done it for the club a couple times.
Yeah. I remember that.
But they make great little plantings, and you can get little seedlings for like $5 depending on the species.
Yeah.
And they're great for forests.
That's nice.
Stuff. We'll start on this side, and then we can go around.
Okay.
Here's another Shimpaku.
Okay.
And this one's styled like a cascade, full cascade, and
I recognize that pot. That's from Chris Hendry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have one like that too. That's looking really good, isn't it? So you got that wrapped with raffia and wire then?
Yeah, and it didn't really need the raffia. I just kind of did it to practice doing that and putting it on.
Yeah, it's looking really good. You got some good movement in that, and
and like
really
the base is really cool.
Yeah, it's got powerful roots anchoring it.
But the cascades are kind of a pain to maintain. They're just, everything's kind of challenging with them. Watering, wintering, standing. Like you can see, I can't even keep it on my bench. It needs to be raised a little bit. Yeah. And it's really top heavy, so it's connected with a wire
to a brick in.
Yeah. And thank God it's a juniper, because like it's really also really hard to get water into the base here.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, little surface area.
Yeah. So it's a unique style, but definitely comes with its challenges.
Yeah.
But it's
you're doing a good job of it. It's vigorous in the bottom and the top, which is good.
Yeah, not as filled out as my other juniper, maybe just because I don't get enough water to it.
Right.
And the cascade pot is dries out faster than regular pots.
It drains so much, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of watering.
Behind it is a little collected thuya.
That's an old tree. You've had that a long time.
Yeah, this is one of kind of the first ones I pulled out.
I recognize that.
And pull that off, but it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So there's old. Big deadwood, and then I really like this tall kind of tenjin on it.
Yeah.
Let's see, so there you can see this used to be roots all dead right here.
Oh yeah.
And then the root base and the living vein is right here.
That is cool.
So this whole side of the tree is dead.
Yeah.
But it's just going super strong. So I've already pruned it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got, well, you can kind of see them. There's this one branch here, a second branch, and then a third branch. So it's going to be a cascade kind of framed in this tension.
That might look good planted over top of those rocks we collected.
Yeah. It's definitely going to go over something, or I was going to put it in a kind of like a crescent pot, something kind of give it more of that dynamic movement.
Yeah.
But you're right, it would look really good over a rock too.
It would. Those rocks we collected with Stefan, it would look really cool.
Yeah, so I've in the spring I've already pruned it, and I'll prune it into my pads and stuff, and it's growing really strong.
That's good. That's nice.
Blue,
very nice.
blue as well. Next to that is my bird's nest spruce.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fat broom style spruce. Still lots of work to do it.
Yeah.
But it's growing really strong, so this is
looks good and healthy. Doesn't it?
A lot of my conifers were root pruned all at once a couple of years ago, so they didn't get a lot of work this year. No spring really.
Yeah.
Candle. So you can. I haven't pinched the candles.
So this is just left to grow this whole season, eh?
Yeah. So I'm gonna a lot of basically all my conifers I'm gonna do a fall pruning, and then that will set the buds for next year. So like you don't.
I didn't prune mine at all last year either.
Yeah.
This year I pruned it, so I kind of find every second year.
Yeah.
Seems to do the trick. Gain vigor and then prune it, then gain vigor again, and.
Yeah, because that really helps you push, and then you can push the branches back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really nice pieces here in the middle. Yeah. But like, for example, I could cut this whole thing off. Yeah. Leave these kind of smaller pieces.
Yeah. So that work is to come on it, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, lots to come. This is a fun little dwarf hemlock, I believe.
Okay.
It's kind of got some groovy roots on it. I'm going to put this over a rock, I think.
Where did you get that from?
This is from a nursery out east.
Okay.
Kind of like east of the GTA. It's that one we tried to go to on the trip, but didn't make it.
Yeah, it was closed.
It closed on Sundays.
Sundays, yeah.
But yeah, a really nice dwarf hemlock. I'm not sure if it's a Canadian hemlock or what variety of hemlock it is.
How dare people take a day off, eh?
I know.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because I got a little cutting from Chris Hendry, a hemlock cutting, and it looks very similar to that. And I'm wondering if it's the same species with the
it could be
dwarf species.
Already has it's already kind of bonsai.
Yeah, and it's a nice size, isn't it? Either that or it's just struggling. I don't know.
Well, it was struggling before. It was like very yellow.
Okay.
And you can see it's kind of bounced back. Oh,
yeah,
there's a hemlock over there that's not doing too well.
Okay. That looks healthy. It's a nice species.
Yeah. I won't pull out each one of these, but I have some more kind of dwarf variety of dwarf Alberta spruces, but I think this is like a Jean Dilly, and this is like a Prince something. But they're both dwarf Alberta spruces, but they have a kind of unique type. So this is more of like a upright
columnar, and this is more like a rounded.
It's very bushy.
So it's just a different growth habit. Eh?
Yeah. So I'm training these to be smaller mame trees. Yeah. And the air pruning from the baskets keeps that root base really nice and small.
That's very cool. And what is this one? I've never seen a tree like this before.
Yeah, this is a Japanese cypress.
Cypress.
I forget the Camperanensis or something. I'm not going to pronounce it now.
Okay, yeah.
But it's a weird cultivar. I think it's called a raisin not raisin, resin or something like that. But it makes these like tornado branch leaflets, really. Yeah. And then you can see it continues into the tree. So this is like naturally wrapped around it and stuff. It's got some twisted, flaky bark. And same thing. It was a bigger tree and just trunk top it right off top.
Tornado or Hurricane Connor.
This is another Japanese cypress. I think this is a Sitka variety or Sika variety. So it's a very dwarf.
Very tight, eh?
Yeah. And again, it's going to be a really small one. So this is the leader that's growing up just to kind of vigor. And first cut here and then cut again.
Wow. That's going to look great in a pot someday, isn't it? Yeah, that's really cool. Wow. Some really interesting species of conifers here.
Yeah. So this is a Siberian spruce.
Okay.
So it's a five needle spruce. I don't know. Sorry, it's pine. It's a pine.
right. Pine, yeah.
5 needle pine. But you can check out the nice old flaky bark on it.
Oh, yeah. Get in here. Yeah.
So this was repotted in the spring and it's not doing too good, so there's some dieback on it.
Yeah.
It's already lost its last year's needles. You can see how much needles I lost. But this year's growth is still on it and still flexible.
Yeah, and it looks like it's recovering nicely.
Yeah, so I'm hoping for it. Hoping for it to hang around.
I think
so I'll protect it over the winter just in case.
Is that new buds in there?
Yeah, so they're setting.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine, won't it? It'll probably be twice as vigorous next year.
Yeah, let's hope.
I find a lot that after root pruning and putting them in bonsai soil, if they make it, they just explode in new growth. I just love it.
So this one I'll pull out to the front because I think it's really fun to look at. So this is a tiger bark ficus. One of the first trees I got as well. So it's growing on a tufa stone.
Okay.
So I believe that's what it's called, tufa rock.
Yeah.
So it has like this really nice craggly, almost looks like coral rock.
Yeah.
So I really think it fits this kind of tropical side of the ocean kind of feel. So I imagine a shoreline kind of here, and it's just sweeping out into the sea.
Nice.
So I took some really big bends to this branch. So it was wrapped, well, it's still wrapped in raffia, and then it was tourniquet, and then I actually had to split the branch.
Oh yeah. And where was the branch before?
It was just more vertical and upright.
Okay, so you made it more cascading.
Yeah. So I tried to, it's still kind of parallel here. I'm trying to maybe swoop it a little more, but it's nice that it descends into this branch.
That is nice.
And it doesn't need to be straight because nothing's really straight on this side either, so there's no really point.
Yeah, keep everything curvy,
Yeah, and then this kind of has just naturally eroded with the erosion, so the soil was a little higher. I kind of like that feature. This may end up being like a root wall.
Yeah, it looks good.
Of some sort.
It's very natural, isn't it?
And I really like the kind of two levels. I'm going to keep exaggerating that.
Yeah.
Because this big root, you can see it's started to make its own root base.
Down low there,
It's starting to flare out, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So if I elevate it, give it more space, this will start
thickening show that feature off more.
And you can see there's crazy roots growing right on it.
Aerial roots.
Yeah. So this is a moss wall. So it's not. A lot of people make their retaining walls out of muck. Yeah. Which I'm sure some of you guys have heard. It's like part academa dust, has some sphagnum, and then clay, and it's basically a muck ball, like a mud ball. Yeah. And then you smack it on. And I've kind of got the same effect, and I've used it in some of my other trees. I'll show you guys when we get there. But I just compact moss into a flat panel and stick it on. Yeah. And basically you keep it wet for a while until the roots start growing in to penetrate. And it's really kind of an effective retaining wall. You see some dropping, but the roots really love it. They basically grow into it.
They love it, don't they?
Yeah. And you'll get kind of this effect here where like this is going to be like a cage of roots, I guess.
Yeah. That's really cool. And that's the original trunk of the tree there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is I'm constantly battling the vigor of the trunk versus the vigor of the roots.
Right.
Because to my kind of fear, when I repotted one last year, I noticed that like it was mostly aerial roots. Yeah. And then the trunk didn't really have a lot of strong root growth in it. So that's part of the managing it, as well as these big aerial roots, which I've decided to keep. I'm not, a lot of people are worried about that this area will start to swell, but it's going to do that naturally. Yeah.
They do that in nature, don't they? As they grow.
Oh, I could cut this off and have a really cool kind of separate
another tree.
And same kind of style. So here's a big first cut. It's healing over nicely.
Yeah. And they're nice small leaves on the tiger bark, aren't they?
Yeah. And this has just been growing all summer. So I haven't, normally I do a big prune right before they come inside to bring them into shape.
Yeah. And you've had this probably 8 years, have you? Or?
No. I've only been in bonsai for about 4 or 5 years. Okay. But this is one of my first ones.
One of your first trees, yeah.
Yeah, I've brought it in, and I don't know, maybe you remember Nigel, but it was around this tall.
I do.
A couple shows ago.
Yeah.
The one in the church when we did, it was...
I remember that.
Yeah, I used it to cover a speaker or something. It wasn't actually in the show, but... no, maybe I did the demo on it. So anyways, yeah, so I'm starting to put movement in it.
Look at this root here.
Yeah.
That formed naturally like that? That's amazing, isn't it, to get that S shape in it?
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And these are all like that. This is from Tropical Expressions in Hamilton. Yeah. He has some really nice bigger ficus and stuff like that.
Very cool.
So this is a dwarf little leaf linden, or a lime tree, so you can see the variety there. Comes to minima.
Okay.
So it's
Tilia.
Yeah, it's a unique cultivar. Oh, there's a line of ants. So
that means something's going on, eh?
Yeah, so you can see them right here.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll try to find out. It's probably something on the leaves.
Probably.
But it's
scale insects or aphids or something, eh? Haven't had too many aphids this summer.
No, neither have I.
I've had Japanese beetles and not much scale either.
So let's follow. Where is it going? I've had a little bit of scale.
Yeah. Well, you always get something, don't you?
Oh, well, something's eating the leaves up here.
Oh, yeah. That kind of looks like the damage the Japanese beetles do.
Yeah.
Where they just sort of make a leaf skeleton.
I always check they're always on the bottom of the leaves.
Yeah.
There's some black things here. I'm not sure what it is. I'm gonna spray it regardless with some soap and water. And then I always start with soap and water and move to more
if that doesn't do the trick, then you try something else, eh? That's what I used to.
But that's why you pull out your trees and you look at them a lot, because I didn't notice this until now.
It's hard to keep up sometimes.
Yeah. It's growing really strong.
Good looking tree, isn't it?
Yeah. So the first thing again, I put it in this pot and kind of expose the roots, and I did some basic pruning just for shape.
Yeah.
But it's a very unique variety. It's you can see here that it's just back budding like crazy.
Small leaves.
Yeah, so a lot of them stayed. A lot of them didn't come out in the spring because I severely root pruned it, so it pushed what it could, and it kept it. So we'll see what happens over the winter again.
I find they get a really nice bark on these as they get older too.
I'm really excited. It's grafted somewhere in here.
Yeah.
It may be here, but it's not super noticeable.
No.
And it's likely grafted on just the regular linden.
Yeah.
So I don't think you'll get a lot of that bark mix match.
Right.
And, it has a nicer base.
Yeah, that is a cool species. Very good.
And then very flexible still. So like all clip and grow. And, but if I do need to put wire on it, I can.
Nice.
So this is my clump style, Nigel style Schefflera. So I did the kind of same thing he did with the multiple trunks.
Nice.
And kind of just followed all of his videos. That one has like maybe like 20 or 30 videos on that one, doesn't it?
It's a lot, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's good that you can kind of just follow through Nigel's techniques and do that. But again, all this it's just growing all summer.
Mine's about that vigorous too.
Okay.
Yeah. Mine could probably be repotted. I think it'll help the vigor. I'm hoping to do that towards the end of summer. And just before I bring it in, I find is a good time. Because whenever I bring tropical trees inside, because of the reduced light, they tend to grow all kinds of aerial roots. And because it's suddenly warmer too. It's almost like a spring for them. And so it's a good time. You let them grow all summer. Hard prune them, repot them, bring them inside, and then they...
And then you can fit more inside.
You get the indoor leaves, which is a disadvantage, but because they're larger leaf size, but eventually you get them under control. Yeah,
so it's growing strong and nice and bushy.
Looks good.
Some shoots coming up.
Very tropical.
Yeah, you can see the smaller.
Yeah.
I think I pruned it probably around the same time, or either just before it went outside or just in the early spring.
I see. Yeah, mine I defoliated last fall.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably, it kind of weakened it a bit. So it'll probably gain vigor over the next few years.